Hello, this is Mr. Brown. Welcome to a CNT class with Mr. Brown. This podcast is an orientation to how Mr. Brown has things set up in one of his CNT classes. So multiple different classes might actually be viewing this podcast. So I'm going to keep it kind of general as to where things are located and how things typically operate. So first thing you notice when you log into the home page, I have a post here with my contact information. That way it's readily there in case you need my email, etc. All these links here can be used or helpful for you during the semester. You'll also find on the right I have the calendar set up that you can see any items coming up and when they're due. That's usually pretty handy for people. I'm going to scroll down here. I also use a weekly news note of these are the items we're working on that week and or when things are due for that module or chapter of the class. So a good habit to be in is when you log into our D2L class, come here to the front page of the news note and see, skim this to kind of refresh your memory of like, oh, that's right, I'm working on this. I need to get this item in for this particular week of class. Keep going. Any other important information, any other important things I need to share during the semester will go out here in news notes as well. This is a reminder about making sure you have signed up for E2 Campus so you're aware of any weather-related changes to the college schedule. Down here at the bottom is a shortcut link to the content browser. Some people use that. Going back to the top, across the top bar, I tried to put the common things we would need during the semester. Here's a link to the course home. Next thing here is the content. I'm going to open that up. This will be where the content we have for all of the chapters for the semester. On the first thing you'll encounter is the week 1 getting started. That is in every CNT class with me. That is the kind of thing you would review this first week of class. In here you'll find the syllabus, link to the quiz, the syllabus quiz for the week, the first week discussion board posting, those sorts of things. That's what you'll find there. As we get to a typical week of the semester, I have chapter 1 open here as an example. If I open that, this is what you'll typically find. In here I have a reminder about what reading you might need to complete for that module or that unit of class. Below that, I will have a watch area. These would be podcasts that are here for you to view as you need, view as many as you need. I have a little note here about, treating it like a water fountain, consume what you need. And then also the PowerPoint I use when I'm doing the podcast. So you could download this as a set of notes for yourself and then in here watch whatever podcast you would need to review that topic of the chapter. And you notice I have them broken in pieces, so you can watch just the pieces you need. You would not need to watch them all. You can just watch the pieces you need. For many people, that's the most handy way to do that. So there would be the things to watch for the week. And then down here, under the do area would be the things to do for that week. I typically have a link to a checklist of things for the week. For some people, the checklist is handy to use. Here's a link for the quiz for that week, and then the lab that we would be doing that particular week of class. Those would be the do items. Those would be the things you want to make sure you're doing for that module or that week of class. And as I open up the lab, you'll also see a copy of the lab and then podcasts me completing the lab in there as well. Any lab that you complete with Mr. Brown, there is podcasts there's a direction page and then a podcast that shows you how to do the lab. So feel free again to consume those as you need. Down at the bottom will often be some other resources, other materials that, again, might be helpful to you, might be useful to you. That's why I put them down here last. Again, there's nothing you need to do in here in particular. This is just here for additional information for you. So that's what you'll typically find for a chapter or a module of a class in the content. As I move across the top, I have a link to our checklists. Again, these aren't required, but these are handy for a lot of people, so I create them. Here's a checklist of things to complete for week 1. If you were to open that, it lists all the things that you should be tackling for this week of class, reviewing the syllabus, completing the syllabus quiz, doing your discussion post, get your Network Plus book. Here's a link to the book information. Take a look around D2L and make sure you install your packet tracer. Most CNT classes with Mr. Brown, we're using packet tracer for some portion of the semester, so I usually have them there as a first week reminder. If you already have it installed, awesome. If not, this would be the time to do that. So this would be the items you'd complete for that week of class. Again, it's not required, but for a lot of people, it's very handy to have that, to know that you have everything done with this class and can move on to work for another class that you might be taking. So those are there for you. Feel free to use them. Here's the link to the discussion board. The first week of class, I have you post a little little welcome message. That's kind of for me to get to know a little bit about you guys. Also get to know a little bit about me. That is the only graded discussion assignment we have out here in our CNT class and CNT class with me. I do have other topics for each chapter or each module of the class. That is simply, topic areas. That is simply there for you to post questions or comments or, particular issues that you're having. I do watch this and get back. But there is no required other postings that you need to do. I just created areas for questions or concerns or problems you might be having that I can use this as a way to communicate with you. So they're there. Dropbox, this is where we would submit any labs we're completing for the semester. I have a Dropbox out here, and these turn on for the week or the 2-week window that we're completing the lab. That is open for you to submit your files into. And for most labs, CNT labs that Mr. Brown has, you'll be usually submitting some sort of results text file, and sometimes other files with that, maybe in the upper CNT classes, some configuration files from routers and switches and that sort of thing. So it's usually basic text file kinds of things that you're submitting in there as proof of, yes, I completed this lab. And that's where you would submit these. Quizzes, this is basically the homework for each week or each module of the class. There's a syllabus quiz here for week 1, so make sure you do that the first week of class. After that, there is a quiz for each chapter that we would complete. And these are designed to be, I'll open up quiz 1 here as an example. This will open after we get through our first week of class. But as I open this, you'll see, hey, read the chapter first. I usually have these set up to be multiple attempts. It's going to average the score together. That way you can take it one time, learn any mistakes, go back, take it again, improve your score. And then I also have them set up that when you start them, they're open for like 3 hours. So you can take your time, look things up, get your book out, get your notes out, look things up, and try to get as much correct as you possibly can on the first try through. And again, it's set up to be a couple attempts in there, and it'll average the scores together. The only catch on the quizzes is they're due either at the end of that module if you're in an online class. If you're on an on-campus class with Mr. Brown, it'll be due when we meet for that particular class. It'll be due before we meet for that class, if you will. That way I know you have at least gone through the material before I see you. Okay, so there's our quizzes for the semester. The grades page, I'm going to open this up. As we do anything this semester, it's going to get plugged into the grade book over here. All the homework quizzes are going to get plugged into one folder. All of the labs are going to get plugged into a folder. Our network design lab we do later in the semester is going to get plugged into a folder. The midterm stuff plugged into a folder, and the final exam stuff plugged into a folder. And if you look at these percentages, these should match up to the percentages that you see on the syllabus as to what percentage each of these pieces is worth in the overall grade. Homework's worth 10%, labs are worth 30, network design is worth 15, midterm is worth 20, and then the final is worth 25. So as you see, we kind of have this point spread out. That way you have a chance to, if you don't do so well in one area, another area might make up for you. We kind of have purposely spread out. But you'll see that we have the labs kind of weighted pretty heavily. We want you to be able to do some things in the class or be able to do some things when you're done completing a CNT class. So as you're doing things, these will get plugged in here, and then up here on the top you should see an overall grade as things get plugged in. I should have it set up that you see your overall grade. It's usually in like this area as things get filled in. Here's a link to email. You may use that email, or if you go back on the front page, I have my hack email address listed there for you as well. Here's a link to rubrics. We do have a rubric for especially our network design later this semester. And then also we have ones for our midterm and our final. There is a little lab piece you do for the midterm and a little lab piece you do for the final. So I have a rubric in there to grade that so you know exactly what you need to do. There is a couple other resources here. These are some things that might be useful to people, so I put them in a drop down over here, but they are here for you. All right, I'm going to go back to the home page here. So as you see, most of the things we need are right across the top here. I tried to make them nice and handy. And again, when you first log in, hit this front splash page. Look at the news notes that are here, especially the weekly reminder. That'll keep you on target of what we're working on or what is due that particular week of class. I believe that is the items to kind of give you a quick orientation of a CNT class here with Mr. Brown. The thing I will remind you of is this week of class. I'm going to go back to the content page. This week of class, the thing you want to do, the first week of class here, you want to open up the week 1 getting started, and you work your way down through these items. Here's a little page on meeting Mr. Brown, my class schedule in case you're trying to catch up with me to know when I'm free. Here's a copy of the syllabus that you can open and download. Here's a link to, in this case for CNT 120, 125, I have a link to the course text here for you. And then I have a couple other useful informations. These are common questions people have, so I put them here for reference. Here is the podcast of, welcome to CNT class, Mr. Brown. And then these are the items you want to make sure you complete this week of class. Here's the checklist to work down through. Do your week 1 discussion post, and it's a real simple one as I open this guy up. It's just as simple. Put your name in here. You can put your pronouns in. You can indicate your major, and then maybe just a little something that you like to do maybe when you're not in class. My posting is here if you want to read a little bit about me. I also have on this first page here, this week 1 page, I have a little page here that has some pictures, including my dogs and so forth. So if you want to know a little bit more about me, I have some tidbits in there that might be of interest to you. So once you've done that, do your posting, and then make sure you take the syllabus quiz. That make sure you do by usually like the Thursday of the first week of class. The college needs a roster check usually by the end of the first week. So I usually have people make sure they get that done by like Thursday of the first week of class. That way I can make sure that you have signed in and you're attending and so forth. Here's directions for installing Packet Tracer. If you're new to CNT CNT 120 student, if you're new, this is directions to install the virtual simulator we're going to use during the semester. It simulates a rack of Cisco networking equipment that we can do a whole bunch of different lab experiments on for the semester, and it's a free download. You do need to create a Cisco account. Once you create the account, you get a link to be able to go in and download the software, install it on your laptop, and there are versions for Windows, Apple, as well as Linux. You can download and install. It really does not take much. The directions walk you right through that. And then I have a link here for when you start working on the Cisco Packet Tracer Labs, how would I get these things started? I have podcasts that show you, but this is just kind of a little to-do list for people that want to see a list of how do I get these things started. So these would be the items to do this week of class. Again, if you're like a 125 or 140 student, just make sure you do have Packet Tracer installed. If you had it installed it last semester, you're probably fine for this semester. Just make sure you have it installed and you're ready to rock and roll. All right, so there's a quick orientation to a CNT class with Mr. Brown. Welcome, and we hope we have a good semester with you.